Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a wonderful second edition. I'm pretty darn excited about this of Open Book with the Gale Borden Library, brought to us by KCT Credit Union. And with it being the second edition, hopefully you guys had the chance to review a little bit of it last week. But each week you will expect to see two or more great guests joining us in the studio and talking about the library. And all of that started out because of this little ditty. I'm not going to lie. This is what brought it to the table, is this thing, is because I looked at it and I said, I wonder how many people are not familiar with the contents. What's inside? You start paging through it and you realize that indeed there's a lot of things going on at the library, and that's for all ages. Well, today we are going to be welcoming some good friends into the studio, and it is Miss Carol Metal, and she is the CEO of the Gale Borden Library, as well as Miss Nikki Mirabati, and she is the Elementary Service Manager, K through 5 at the library. So welcome, ladies. You are most welcome. And Carol, I will say that I had the opportunity to speak with or listen to you at the 150th anniversary. So that's quite an honor that you guys are sitting on a nice little high step this year.
Yes, it really is, quite, I think, an accomplishment to have this wonderfully successful library for 150 years and knowing actually that we were the first library established in Illinois through the state legislature. We filed the papers a day before Chicago Public Library. And that was back a little before 1874, but we chose March 19th, 1874, and the year of that year in particular, because that's when the library opened to the public. That's when it really meant something.
That's when it stood out. That's the stamp, right? And how long have you been with the library?
I've been with the library almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years in August.
And what made you, if you don't mind me ask, what made you get involved with the library into that position? I mean, what brought that to be your career?
Well, my background, I have a library degree, of course, and worked my way up, reference librarian, manager of departments, and then I was director of the Rolling Meadows Public Library for 15 years. And then I spent some time at the Chicago Public Library, Harold Washington Center, as a division chief, overseeing several departments. And then when this position became open 20 years ago, I thought I would like to try for it. And I did, and was hired. And the building was brand new at that time. It was less than a year old. And when I walked in that building, I said, we are going to utilize this building to the nth degree.
That's fantastic.
And then when I found out the quality of staff that we had, and so many of the ideas that were just waiting to be acted upon, and we wanted to, I wanted to initiate that and wanted to get staff involved in the many activities. And just really quickly, one of the ones that really, that we were able to really have the public take notice of was in 2005, when we had the African dinosaurs brought by Dr. Paul Serino from Chicago, University of Chicago.
Okay.
And we had a 30-foot tall dinosaur
right in that lobby. I bet I can see it right where it's at. Yep, with that big tall ceiling you have.
That wow! People said, "Really, libraries can have exhibits like that?" And we sure did. And we just tied it to literacy, because when you see it, you want to learn more about it.
Yep.
And the books are right there for people to check out, and that's what we want.
I constantly, with my kids growing up, as well as my grandkids when they were growing up, I was a big supporter of the more you know. You know, when I was a kid, and you and I are probably closer in age than Miss Nikki, sorry, but when I was a kid, it was all about encyclopedias, and it was all about what you couldn't find in there or was too big above your head was always go to the local library. That's how it is that you learned it. And the neat thing, I think, from just you saying, like, the first to come out there and be a part with the exhibit, with the dinosaur exhibit, is that it wasn't just what a normal library would have. You recognize that, listen, there's so many more tools that we can bring. And it sounds like you've always been a step ahead of the times. You know, once the people started going to the computers, well, then what did libraries do? They brought computers in to access it. So for your first, I guess, official gig, when you said you're working at the other ones, the big one here in Elgin, that probably was wonderful. You just walking through those doors and say, okay, all the potential that's waiting.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're the perfect size. We're big enough and have a large enough staff to do so many of these activities, but not so big like when I was at Chicago Public Library that it was pretty difficult to get things to be nimble. It was difficult to be nimble. And that's one thing we are at Gale Borden Library is that word nimble.
Well, I have to say, too, that's the one, you know, when you've worked in all different positions, like especially with having your experience at Chicago, I think it probably teaches you to be a little bit more respectful. That's not the right word, but understanding of the different, all the different avenues of a library, because you know what it's like to have a great idea, but have to go through all the politics to get to it.
Right, definitely. And the number one thing that we keep foremost in our mind is that we are serving the community. And what is our community and what are the needs of the community? And, you know, one might have thought, well, why have exhibits? We're so close to Chicago. Well, there's many people in our community that cannot get down to downtown Chicago or don't have the money to get down to downtown Chicago. So that's why we, you know, have these exhibits, educational, that it's right in their own backyard. I established a concert series, free concerts, very high quality. We certainly want them to enjoy the wonderful musicianship of the Elgin Symphony Orchestra, but not everyone has the money for the tickets.
Right.
So we're able to, you know, provide that. And then of course, all the activities that our youth department has and engaging our youngest readers and youngest customers, shall we say, into being good readers, because it's all about literacy and connecting people and children with books.
You know, I'm going to carry that on even a little bit, because I know when I had my first child, and I think a lot of moms of multiples will understand this logic behind it, but when I had my first child, it was reading all the time. Then all of a sudden you get to the second child. Now you got another, you know, so to try and stay on top of it, I fully admit it wasn't as active as reading as it was with the first one, just because it's a timing issue. And that's the other thing that I like that the library puts together is not only the challenges for kids, but also sometimes the challenges for parents, you know?
Absolutely. It's definitely half the battle.
It is, yeah. And I like I said, that was the hardest one. And then when you have multiple kids, like I said, it makes it a little bit more difficult. The one thing I noticed, Carol, with the event that you had out there celebrating the 150th, which I'm going to say once again, I know I've said it before, was fantastic. I think that the turnout you had there had to felt just made your heart kind of warm, you know, and seeing how many people, it's pretty much a standing room only because all the seats were occupied from the presentations that you had. And I had missed a couple in the beginning. I had an appointment, so I couldn't get there right away in the beginning. But just sitting back and listening to the story behind it, even that a lot of people are not familiar with.
Right, yes. You know, we have such a rich history. Well, and I think you can when you're 150 years old.
That's true.
But
you better, right?
But,
if you did your job right, you better, right? Yeah.
Well, what I think is one of the fantastic things is in those 150 years, the Gale Borden Library has only had 9 directors, and one of the directors only stayed 1 year. So I don't know if I even really count him.
We're going to say no. God bless you, but we're going to say no.
You know,
as my mother-in-law would say, bless his heart.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, you know, just having that continuity, you know, of leadership. And of course, we're honoring the longest-serving library director, Catherine Abbott, who served from 1903 to 1943, 40 years. And plus, she worked at the library before she became the director. But others have 25 years. I will definitely not be there the longest.
But still in the top 10.
Yeah, top 10. Yeah, I'm still in the top 10. But, you know, when I think about, you know, some other libraries and the time that I've been at Gale Borden, they may have had 4 or 5 directors in 20 years, and here only 9. So the Gale Borden Library, I think, has always been a mainstay and very important to the community of Elgin and surround. And now that we're a district, we do serve beyond the city. We serve Parts of South Elgin
Right.
and Streamwood, Hoffman Estates, and Bartlett. We serve 65 square miles.
And what are those? I call them like a hub. What is it actually for the or offsite location? What would you call that destination? Like for the one in South Elgin, is it a hub of the Gale Borden Library?
A branch.
A branch.
Branch
Okay,
library.
got it.
Yes,
Mhm.
which we are in the throes of expanding to the joy of our South Elgin residents, growing from
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. To 4,000 square foot to close to 12,000 square feet.
Wow.
And we're out to bid on that project now and hope to start construction at the end of summer.
I was going to say, yeah, because there is room to branch out around there.
Yeah,
Right.
Get it open in 2025.
Wow.
And there's
That's
a lot of
exciting.
building going on in South Elgin, just right down the road on McLean. And so we expect to have quite a lot of new users
Yeah.
and members of the Gale Borden Public Library District.
We talked in honor of your 150th anniversary. I was talking, I think, when I came by the library last week, and I said, well, I have yet to have signed up for my library card. I know. That was like, there's a gasp. It was a sudden gasp. Yeah, I turned her microphone off because it would have been way audible. No. No. Yeah, no, but yeah, and so I said, well, we're going to show how easy it is. So one of our episodes, we're going to talk about how easy it is to get a library card.
I think we've got it down to like 4 minutes.
Really? No kidding?
We time it. Yep.
So that's fantastic. And Miss Nikki, we're going to talk to you in a little bit. Again, talking about some of the summer reading and the areas that she covers with the library. One other question I wanted to, again, shoot with Carol, and we're going to bounce back and forth a little bit, but I always was curious when you said that our hub or our branch, the main one, is going to be doing a lot of things that some other people may not have done. Who is the one then that decided, guess what, we can do passports here. We can do that was one that caught me. That's probably one of the very first things that happened that got me interested is that I had to renew my driver's license. And in radio, we have little hubs of time. You don't have time to be standing in line at the DMV. And a coworker mentioned the library. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, how many other people didn't know that? I was your biggest advocate. I think I told everybody, even in the grocery line, I told them that, did you know, that you could do that? So how did you arrange that? Was it something too, you said, what other service can we offer the community, or how did that become?
Well, to tell you the truth, sometimes I can't remember where those ideas originate.
I appreciate your honesty.
We have a highly creative staff. Passports, it went back many years.
Okay.
And I don't know if I thought of it or someone else. And when we applied, we were turned down by the State Department at that time. Mm-hmm. That was before they started coming into libraries. Passports just basically were at the post office.
Right.
And I think the government, just like they realized how nice it was for public libraries to distribute tax forms.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
of course, there's so much online, but back in the day, oh my gosh, the thousands of tax forms that we would have, and we still have tax forms for, if people want the hard copy. So they realized, I think, libraries would be good, but you still have to go through a process. And Ela Library in Lake Zurich was probably the first in the area, and they did it for a number of years. And so we learned from them. And when we reapplied and we were accepted, so much so that we have heard that when people are in line for passports at the post office, they tell them to come to the library.
I think I did hear that, be honest with you.
It's much nicer at the library. I'll put a plug in because of our hours. Now, we do ask for appointments that people call, make an appointment.
Okay.
And but we have evening. Now, when is the post office open in the evening?
Right.
And Sunday, we're 7 days a week, 71 hours. And
blessings to the staff at the post office, but yeah, I like the library.
Yeah. And, so, and good parking and, everything like that. So, and our staff we are overviewed very intensely by the State Department. and we passed with flying colors at the last inspection.
So there's
we're doing
criteria.
everything right.
There you go. Well, cool. First of all, that's not surprising to me, but that is probably something you just kind of always hold your breath a little bit. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
You know, you probably knew you were good, but there's something about when somebody confronts you with a test, I always tense up and I'm thinking, all right, I got to pass this. Yeah, I didn't study for it, but yeah. But I think it's a great service. So I'm going to hand the microphone over real quickly to Miss Nikki too for a little bit and let Carol have a little break. Now there is Nikki Marabati is, as I said, the elementary service manager, K through 5 at the library. So Nikki, first of all, you probably, from just your appearance and your disposition, I think it's the perfect person for the gig because you can just tell that when somebody walks up to you, they're going to have a smile on their face.
You know, Leah, I have to say, I think I'm the lucky one. I have gotten to see so many amazing things at the library. I've gotten to see children take their first steps. I've gotten to see them finish their first book. I've gotten to share with them some of my favorite books. So how can you not have a smile on your face with that? I mean, you know, I get to share jokes with them and just their lives, and I get to see them grow up. So it's such an amazing opportunity. I'm the lucky one.
Oh, there you go. Well, I think one of my very first books on my first reading exercise when I was, in this case, it was middle school. So again, you got to put the time into perspective here, okay? Nowadays, it's much sooner. But my first reading was for The Outsiders by, right?
Yep.
And now because you remember that over time and it wasn't a boring kind of snooze read. It was something that was very interesting and it was timely and it was age, for the age that we were at the time. So now even to this day, somebody's going to be doing a play on it and I'm thinking, I'm going to be there. It's that kind of memory that books bring on.
It really is. You never forget your first book. You never forget your first kind of book that touched you. It becomes a part of you, you know, and that's the privilege that we kind of get to work with every day. And it's something that we honor and we hold so dear and something that we try to strive for with every interaction with the kids and to get to see them find that book that kind of starts off their journey is it's so special.
So let's talk a little bit about your pattern. What brought you to the library and how long have you been with, I've now just kind of put you down to GBL instead of Gale Borden Library, but how long have you been with the library?
So I'm going on 8 years, which I still can't believe it. It doesn't feel like 8 years at all. I was just telling Carol actually earlier. So my journey's been a little bit different. I was originally going to be a marine biologist. So I went to school in Florida for a little while, and then I graduated, and I was like, nope, this isn't going to work. And then I went into education, and I got my degree in elementary education, and I was teaching for a few years, which was amazing. But you know, we didn't get to enjoy some of the joys of reading because there was so much testing and bureaucracy and things of that nature. So I credit all the teachers out there. It is such an important job and so challenging, one that I don't think I did very well. But when I came back to Illinois, I fell in love with Gale Borden, and I started there, honestly, just doing library cards in the circulation department and getting to know people. And I knew that's where I wanted to be, and that's kind of how I ended up going to library school and tied my passion for kids and literacy with libraries, and I just never left.
And first of all, that also says a lot, and I'm going to give you a couple of pumps up here, Miss Carol. It says a lot about the staffing there as well. When somebody says, I came and I felt so welcome and it was such a good environment, that says a lot about what you do.
Thank you.
So,
yes.
Sure. And that was the other thing that caught my eye is this nice little ditty, which we're going to be talking about in the second half of our show because of the summer reading program. Now, that incorporates, like I said, our kids it was always called Read Up, or, you know, they had a challenge. Right? Would you call it a challenge?
We call it a challenge.
There
you got it.
I think anytime you tell kids it's a challenge instead of an assignment, you're going to have their
They want to win. I get it.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next segment here, too, because you're going to be kicking that off on probably at the fair. You had mentioned the fair a little bit
That's
earlier.
right. I just have one question for you, Leah. What are you doing June 8th?
I'm going to check my calendars. I want you guys to do the same because what we're going to do is go to a real quick commercial break. I want to remind you, you're listening to Open Book. It's with the Gale Borden Library, brought to you by KCT Credit Union. We'll be back with more in just a bit.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. No matter the time of the day, WRMN 1410 AM is your platform to voice your views, share your stories, and connect with the Valley like never before. We're more than just radio. We're a community conversation that's always live, always local, and always looking for your input. Want to chime in on the drive time deal with Matt McNeil? Got a hot tip for first shift with Marky B? Or maybe you've got a question for a one-on-one with Leah. Now's the time to make your voice heard by calling Studio 14 at 847-931-1410. That's 847-931-1410. You can join in the dialogue from wherever you are by commenting on our YouTube live streams at WRMN Radio. Hit the subscribe button to get notified when we go live and bring your comments to the table. It's easy, it's fun, and hey, it's what neighbors do. We talk, we listen, we engage. You're not just the audience, you're part of the show. Call in, comment, and let's make radio interactive. WRMN 1410 AM, where your words are part of our wavelength.
From morning coffee to your evening commute, WRMN 1410 AM is here for you. The faithful friend that brings you local news, timely topics, and the friendliest voices in the Valley. Stay informed, entertained, and engaged with our full lineup of shows, streaming all day, every day at WRMN1410.com or on the WRMN app. Wherever you are, we're right there with you. So why switch stations? Stick with the one that has it all. WRMN 1410 AM, your daily companion, your constant conversation.
Michael Brown, former Undersecretary of Homeland Security and Director of FEMA, is your new full-time host of The Weekend, which airs every Saturday from 4 to 7 p.m. right here on WRMN. Each week on the popular 3-hour program, Brown offers listeners a fresh take on the weekend talk with his provocative insights into current events, politics, and culture. So late in the day on Saturday, make it a point to catch The Weekend with Michael Brown right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Be sure to catch the first shift weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. for important information like fire tips from Elgin Fire Chief Rob Sagan.
The thing in the winter that we're more concerned with is carbon monoxide, because that we don't get in the summer. That carbon monoxide issues occur because of heating equipment. Anything that burns natural gas, if it is faulty, can generate high levels of carbon monoxide, which in time can be fatal. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of having carbon monoxide detectors in your home. Every single year you will see somewhere in the country, and usually we'll get one or two in the Chicagoland area, where you'll see multiple fatalities in one home. You can't smell carbon monoxide, you can't taste carbon monoxide, you have no idea it's happening. And so it's critically important that you have the right detectors in your home.
It's the first shift weekday mornings at 6 a.m. with me, Marky B, right here on WRMN. Ever take your car through the auto emissions lane only to experience the sinking feeling that your car has failed the test? Don't fret. Let Meineke at 376 Sundown in South Elgin fix the problem for you. Meineke's mechanics will determine the exact problem with your vehicle and suggest necessary repairs with Meineke's diagnostic service. Pass that test with help from the trained Meineke technicians. Call today for your appointment. 847-888-9644. That's 847-888-9644. In the mood for some great barbecue but just don't have time to make it yourself? Carry out Coleman's Barbecue on Elgin's East Side at 79 Clock Tower. Coleman specializes in ribs, tips, chicken wings, seafood, and sandwiches with sides like coleslaw, potato salad, and dessert. Try Coleman's Exotic Mild Sauce. It's the bomb. You can also buy sauce in gallon or pint sizes. It's prepared just right. The Coleman's Way. Call 224-535-8153.
And if you're searching for a financial partner that truly has your best interest at heart, join KCT Credit Union, where they're more than just a bank, they're a not-for-profit financial cooperative. KCT members are owners, meaning profits go back to you in the form of lower loan rates, higher savings rates, and fewer fees. Experience personalized service that puts you first. Become a part of KCT, where your financial well-being is their top priority. Visit kctcu.org. Each account insured up to $250,000 by member's choice. This institution is not federally insured. And welcome everybody back to the Gale Borden Library's Open Book. So Open Book with the Gale Borden Library comes to you from with KCT Credit Union Blessing. And today we have the pleasure of having Miss Carol Metal in studio with us today, as well as Miss Nikki. And Nikki, I'm looking forward to it because hopefully people have got their calendars by now, so you know, and you can look to see what's scheduled for June 8th, and you have your pen in hand so you can fill it in after our chat. But Nikki is the, I always want to add some more to it, but you would call it the elementary service manager. You said K through 5. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I know it's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
You got it perfect.
Moving on. Yeah, moving on. I have to make sure I hit every syllable on there. And of course, the CEO, Miss Carol Metal, is joining us today. And we were mentioning, and again, all people are always tuning in to us here, mentioning and celebrating this year the 150th anniversary of the Gale Borden Library. Was it always called the Gale Borden Library, Carol?
No, it was the Elgin Township Library when it was first born, and it wasn't until the 1880s that the stepsons of Gale Borden, who was the inventor of condensed milk, which allowed milk to be available to urban areas,
Right.
Because there was no refrigeration back in the mid-19th century. And he came to fame when the Union Army signed a contract with him for this milk for the Union soldiers. So that's when his name came to fame. And his stepsons purchased the Schofield Mansion
Okay.
on Spring Street, which is still there, for a library, and with the understanding that it would forever be known as the Gale Borden Library, Gale Borden Public Library. And then decades later, back in the 70s, I believe it was, the library became a district. So therefore, its boundaries expanded. We're now 65 square miles. So it's a wonderful story, and certainly a tribute to Gale Borden.
Amen.
Who did establish some very, very, very high standards in the dairy industry in this area.
It's amazing, and not being an Elginite originally, I come from Wisconsin, and so to learn all of those little pieces of history that make Elgin stand out, some of which there's a lot of people, like transplants like me, would not be aware of.
Well, back in the 1880s, 1890s, Elgin was the dairy capital of the world. And one piece of
says the Wisconsin girl.
one piece of trivia that I just love that I learned, that the 4 quarters of butter that we purchased, that was actually invented here. That used to be just one solid brick, and then it was divided. And it was called the Elgin stick for a long time.
I think it had to have been developed by a woman. No offense, guys, but the amount of cooking when you had to cut off the perfect size, and then the person, whoever it was after that put the measurements on the paper. That was another hero of mine, I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
Well, that's what I like about shows like what we're doing today, is it's a matter of putting out those pieces of information that you might not have been privy to or didn't know existed. And those are all little pieces of information you can find about the Gale Borden Library. Now, it was almost a month ago now, we had your celebration. It was voting day. I remember that because
March
it was
19th.
So when we were out at the Gale Borden Library, the amount of people that you had there and the kids were there, you did give a good amount of history. Is there things at the library or something at the library that would show kind of like through history where it came from start one to one? Do you have an exhibit there specifically for that?
Well, we are going to be having an exhibit, is going to open up on our 2nd floor, of artifacts of and the history of the library. So that will be coming very soon, within a couple weeks probably. So that will certainly tell the history. We have books on it. Mr. Mike Elft, who is no longer with us, but he, for many, many years, was the Elgin historian, and he wrote many books on the history of Elgin and also on the library. In fact, that's where we get our facts, is from his material. So yes, so we will be having a more academic maybe exhibit on the 2nd floor with these various artifacts, and then on the 1st floor we're going to have story books, favorite old classic books, an exhibit of that.
Okay.
And also we're going to add a train. So
Ah!
people will be able to ride the train starting on Friday afternoons in June, June 14th. Yep, June 14th.
Uh-huh.
And just kind of ride around the exhibit and just little extra attraction.
Well, you know what it does? First of all, I've got this like, come on, ride the train.
Yeah.
Ride it. I've got that in my head. But I'm nodding to you because there's nothing that would give you a better teaser of all things that the library has. So, by having that in the library, I think, again, it shows the vastness of it all.
Yeah.
Everything that you do there.
And it also coincides with, brings out the theme of our summer reading program, which is, Nikki?
Yeah, I think I
Nice.
can. I know I can. Read.
Love it. I love
150
that.
years of reading.
That's got T-shirts. That's got T-shirts coming.
What this is showing is that the trains were very important to the success of Elgin when the train
Oh, yeah.
started from Elgin to Chicago. So our staff again created the idea and having programming around it, and so it should be fun.
So Nikki Marabati is the one behind that wonderful "I think I can" statement there, and that's part of the summer reading program. So this is going to be kicking off on what date, Nikki?
Sure, it's actually, so our kickoff officially kicks off on June 8th. But we have given the kids a little bit of a head start. So they can start tracking their reading now, today. It opened up May 15th. So we're giving them a little bit of time to get them signed up in school.
Okay.
So that they can jumpstart. But we're celebrating on June 8th, the whole shebang.
And does that have to do with this neat little track that you've got inside of this booklet that they follow along with for the 30-minute reading?
It absolutely does. This is our summer reading log. So this is how they track their minutes. They can track them on paper using 30-minute increments, and they follow along on the train. So every 30 minutes, they can color in their ticket and then each stop on the track. So they are taking a train ride this summer, a train ride of reading. And then each challenge is divided into minutes, and it targets a specific age group. So for our 0 to kindergartners, their target is 450. That's their stop. So once they get across all of their 30-minute stops, they can actually get off the train at their 450-minute station. For my elementary friends, they get to keep going to 750, and I know that they can do it. That's why we're giving them a little bit of head start. And then they're stopping at the 750. And of course, those middle school, high school, and adults, we give them a little extra challenge, and they go all the way to the end of this journey to the 1,200 minutes.
And the neat thing about this that I like is that 9 times out of 10, it's going to create a pattern for somebody to continue reading even after the challenge. I
Absolutely.
think that's the logic behind it, is that you hope that they incorporate that into their daily to-do.
Definitely.
Or daily want, I should say. Not even has to do, but a want.
Absolutely. It's just like the train, right? It's once you get on that track, the momentum goes, it keeps you going, and it carries you on to the next stop, the next book, the next series. And, what's really great about this program is that it reminds people that while literacy is both a very personal, independent kind of journey, it can also be a shared journey with the family, with friends, with book recommendations, with the community. In fact, Leah, we have a community goal, and I know that you can help us out with this.
Absolutely.
In honor of the 150th, we're trying to read 1.5 million minutes this year. So we need everybody to sign up so that we can get those minutes in.
And so if each week, and we do 1.5, and then I feel like you got this little thermostat that goes up to see how many books are going to be
We have
read.
a digital one. You got it. Yep. Our thermometer is digital.
Yeah. That's aging me right there. That's what it does.
Leah, I also want to help the kids. Reading should be a pleasure within itself and a goal within itself, but we want to give them a little incentive. So maybe Nikki can tell you about some of the prizes.
Oh boy. If you turn in that newsletter, that awesome book that you have, Leah, our log is actually in there.
Okay.
So you get this mailed to your house. So you already have the log probably in your hands or somewhere in your mailbox.
Got it.
And if you go to that back page, so it kind of tells you and lays out all of the different prizes that you are going to get just for participating.
It does. I cheated ahead of time. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
It absolutely does. So just by finishing the challenge, kids 0 through 8th grade are going to get a brand new free book. And we scour the stores. We like to get the most popular, the most fun, the most interesting books so that kids have a great selection to pick from, both in English and Spanish.
That's the other thing I was going to say is rocks on. That's great. Okay.
Absolutely. So they get a free book. Partnering with the Elgin Center, they get a free swim pass to the Wing Park pool. So a day of their choice, so they can cool down, on those hot days, take a book with you, just don't get it wet, and read at the pool. They're also going to get a ticket to the King County Cougars game, which is fantastic. And then what we do is we recruit a whole bunch of coupons from different local businesses. So Bumblebee Cafe, trying to think of some others, Wendy's, all the kind of good ones, Applebee's, McDonald's gives you a free ice cream. Bumblebee's, you get a free pass. So basically, you can pick one of those local business coupons as well when you come and you finish. And all you have to do to finish is, of course, read your minutes, but then just fill out your log and bring it in.
Okay, so as I'm looking at this, these are pretty cool prizes too. I'm not going to lie. First of all, I appreciate the fact of reading, but the fact that they've got that's like a icing on the top, or cherry on the icing on the top, right? So this is a form that you're going to be filling out. And again, if you don't have one of these, I know you have a supply. We've even got a supply in our Redemption Center. So if by chance you didn't get this and you want to participate, come to the Redemption Center. Otherwise, I'm sure they could pick it up at the library.
Or on our website, you can download it as well.
Oh, nice to know. Okay, and then on the back of it, you'll see the actual chart for you keeping track, and then on the back of it is where they're going to show those prizes. So not only because it is I would say a community, but you said with the Gale Borden Library District, there's a lot of community involvement and partnership. So that means that some of the staff or people that work at the library are also incorporating by going out to all these area businesses, say, can you help us support our summer reading program?
Absolutely, you got it. And you know what? These are our friends and our neighbors, and they are just as invested as we all are in literacy and the growth of the mind and all of those things. And it's a shared mission. So they're opening their doors, and they're giving us what they can to help support this this mission.
And if I can just add, KCT is a strong supporter of the Summer Reading Challenge.
Wonderful.
And we're very grateful. And I just want to also add, for people that don't know, there are KCT branches at the main library and our South Elgin branch. Convenience.
Absolutely. And I think that also shows, like I said, a part of being community. There's something that stands out that Elgin has that I've been in other larger cities, and I don't know, Elgin just has this big old welcoming hug around you when you come, and this is such a part and a staple into growing up with kids and adults alike. Now, this is a summer program. You said it's going to be technically it started a little bit earlier, but on June 8th is going to be the 150th anniversary of the Old Town Fair. So what can we expect to have happen at the Old Town Fair, Nikki?
Absolutely. Well, to commemorate the 150 years, Carol really, had this great idea to have a fair. And, she presented us with a challenge. She said, this has to be a fair worth 150 years, not only of library history, but of reading, all reading. So, piece of cake, right? Yeah. So we think we did it, though. This fair is going to be amazing. This Old Town themed fair starts at 1 o'clock and it goes until 5, and it is completely free. And you're going to see some of the sweet treats that you might have seen back in the 1800s at an Old Town Fair. A little bit of cotton candy, some popcorn. Kona Ice is going to be there. There's going to be some hot dogs for people to enjoy.
Who knew that hot dogs were invented in the 1870s?
I didn't know that, actually.
Yes.
See?
Only by the Gale Borden Library that you'll know that information, yeah. But see, that's true. Like I said, all those little, looking back from history, and we're going back. The biggest thing that we had in history is, like, I remember doing the Oregon Trail, like, on my computer, and that's the one thing that got me interested in learning that whole story, So even bringing up the hot dogs and seeing that. So that's all, again, starting at 1 o'clock on the 8th.
Absolutely. And there's going to be performers. There's going to be people on stilts and magicians. And thanks to Carol's ingenuity, I don't know how she arranged this, but we were able to get a carousel. So definitely stop by for that, because there's going to be a carousel, a petting zoo with a potbelly pig, My hope is that maybe we can name it.
Oh, yay.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That's got to be a contest, like a Gale Borden contest on what you're going to name the
Right?
potbelly
Wouldn't
pig.
that be fun? We'll see if we can convince them.
Well, lots of games too.
Absolutely. So many
with
games
prizes.
for kids to play and enjoy. Everybody wins at Gale Borden. So you're definitely going to be walking away with a whole bunch of prizes, a whole bunch of fun, hopefully a full stomach, and a little more knowledge about the library and maybe some books too. Hopefully, definitely some books. And of course, signing up for summer reading if you haven't already.
And getting a library card if you don't have one.
So many things.
That's me. That's Leah shining bright right here, willing to get that. But again, like I said, once I found out about it, I purposely am holding off just because we want to do a show on it because I want everybody to see how easy it is. And I think, Nikki, you had said you've got it down to like 4 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. 4 minutes. Like we time it.
Carol, let me go back to you a little bit here. Mentioning the different departments that you have at the library, I know this is a group effort. You know, everybody has to do their part in order to make it the success that it is. Are there things coming up that we might want to share, like in honor of the 150th anniversary? I know we've got the fair coming up, and I know that you, if I remember correctly, aren't you the Grand Marshal, or is the library the Grand Marshal of the 4th of July Parade?
Yes, we certainly are, and we will have quite a showing. Our ever-famous book cart drill team will be performing, and of course we've got our bookmobile and our technomobile, and we're going to be showcasing those. So it's quite an honor, and we are really looking forward to that.
I was speaking with, and I think is it Tish is the one that's running the drill team, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I was speaking with her last week, and for some reason in my head, you know, you just picture like synchronized swimmers and having them perform, but using the bookmobile, you know, using the carts for that, which I think is great fun. So first of all, that had to be an honor. I mean, were you, I don't know how that comes about when you have the assignment of Grand Marshal, but that says a lot for the library. And you've always been I've been here at least 10 years. You've always been an avid supporter and presence at the fair, talking about the summer reading program especially.
Yes, we've got a very, very good working relationship with the city of Elgin. And so when they approached us and said, you know, they would like to make us Grand Marshals, we were very honored.
Yeah.
And the way we look at it is not just an honor, but it's another way to promote the library and the services that our residents should take advantage of. And because we have a lot of things going on at the library. Let me just add, this Thursday, we're going to be having a program with Jerry Turnquist, another history program, History of the Library and Elgin. And then also another fun thing, in October, we're going to have Dr. Leslie Goddard coming, and we're trying to, how do we fit this into the 150th? Well, she found out that Louisa May Alcott wrote a short story for the Elgin Almanac, which we learned was first published in 1874, and she wrote a short story somewhere around there. And so Dr. Leslie Goddard is going to portray Louisa May Alcott in October. And she's fabulous. She's a historian and an actress, and that will be well worth marking your calendars for. I don't have that exact date, but you got a few months here before that happens.
That to me, like I said, there's always something on the calendars. And again, another reason why you should have one of the Gale Borden Library booklets. If you didn't get it in the mail, watch for it. They do it bi-monthly, so every other month. So this one is going to be for June and July. Is that right, or July?
That one's May, June, and the next one will be
June.
July, August.
There you go. We're going to talk a little bit and recap the open book today. We're going to take one quick commercial break. Then we're going to come back, do a recap, tell you what's happening again as a reminder for anybody who may have not been listening earlier or just tuned in. And then also we'll tell you what's on the docket coming up for the month of May. This is Open Book with the Gale Borden Library.
Attention all Schaumburg Boomers fans. Attention all Schaumburg Boomers fans. Come out for a great night of baseball at Wintrust Field at 1999 Spriggans-Guth Road in Schaumburg, Illinois. Join us May 18th versus the Florence Yalls for Bark in the Park. Bring your furry friends for a day at the ballpark. Presented by Gulf Rose Animal Hospital. With a pregame catch on the field and pregame autographs presented by Wintrust.
In the middle of the night, everything will be all right if you listen to Coast right here on WRMN, 7 days a week from midnight to 5 a.m. Each night on Coast to Coast, listeners are captivated by George Noory with discussions on news and current events, conspiracy theories, UFOs, life after death, and all things curious and unexplained. Coast to Coast, every night, midnight to 5 a.m. right here on WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Discover the authentic taste of Italy at Mazziano's Pizza and Pastaria at Route 20 in Nestler in Elgin. There is one true fact of everyday life that never dulls: the simple pleasure of eating great Italian food. At Mazziano's, they'll make sure your dinner or lunch will be the best part of your day. Whether you have a taste for pizza or any of Mazziano's homemade Italian recipes, like ravioli or lasagna, they can also cater your party. Enjoy it any way you like: delivery, carry-out, or dine-in. Visit Mazzianos.com.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free, for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. That's 800-760-1845.
Keeping your car's coolant system in good shape with a regular flush is really important. Let the experts at Meineke Car Care Center at 376 Sundown Road in South Elgin remove your old coolant, preventing chemical buildups in your engine. Then they'll fill your entire system with new coolant to help your engine run smoothly and prevent rust and corrosion, increasing your engine's lifespan. To schedule your appointment, call 847-888-9644.
The lightest, fluffiest pancakes are calling your name at JoJo's Diner, 1935 West Gulf Road in Schaumburg. JoJo's has a huge breakfast menu featuring skillets, eggs Benedict, and so much more. Don't stop at breakfast. JoJo's also offers great burgers, sandwiches, and shakes. And for mouth-watering prime rib, try JoJo's for dinner. They have such a versatile menu. JoJo's Diner is family-owned and operated, and it's one of Schaumburg's best-kept secrets. Visit jojosdiner.com today.
And once again, Open Book is here right now. Hello, everybody. This is Leah with WRMN. We are on our second edition of Open Book. For those out there who might not be familiar, Open Book is heard every Monday from 1 until 2. I'd recommend that you make sure you put that on your calendars or do a little sync in. If you want, you can follow us on our YouTube page and make sure you click on the little bell. That will alert you every time somebody from Gale Borden Library is joining us in the studio. Real quickly, we want to remind you, Open Book joins here and is coming to you from our friends over at KCT Credit Union. So as we are coming back to the screen right now, I do have Carol Metal joining us in the studio, as well as Miss Nikki Marabati, and they are not only the CEO for the Gale Borden Library, but also the elementary service manager K through 5. And Carol kind of hinted on that a little bit before you went to the break, because not only are we getting ready for summer, but that's not to be forsaken that there's a lot of things that are still going on right now. And you teased a little bit about it with Jerry, but first of all, Nikki we were chatting during the break, had mentioned Baby Fest. What is Baby Fest, Nikki?
Absolutely. So Baby Fest is really all about celebrating birth and children 0 to 1 year old or 12 months, and it's another community sort of partnership where we bring in local supports. We tie it in also with local hospitals and community members. And this year, in honor of our 150th, we have a reading challenge. So this is for parents who are expecting and or those who just have little ones. And it's also tied to our Welcome Baby program. So if you have a little one of that age, you can come in, sign them up for a library card, and we have a whole package of goodies for you to kind of help you with that first year, as well as free books and some additional resources and information. And we also give you a customized tour so that you can kind of start those little ones early on the path to literacy.
And I think that also says a lot for the parent. I'm sorry, Carol, but I think that says a lot for the parent because it also, again, grooms you to prepare for reading and getting in the habit. It's a habit, just like there's people who don't want to drink water. Once you start doing it, it's a habit, and you know it's a necessity. Now, the book reading, especially for kids as they grow older, and I know, Carol, you were going to mention something too, so about the Baby Fest.
Well, just that during the month of May, if you read 150 books to your baby that's on its way or it's just been born, you will be eligible for prizes that have been funded by our Gale Borden Library Foundation. So it's another way to focus in on our 150th anniversary.
I was wondering, so do you have like these thought sessions? Because some of the ideas you guys come up with are phenomenal. Like even this Baby Fest or talking about it. How do you determine which direction? Because there's probably a zillion things that you could choose from in order to get people active. How do you determine that? Is there groups that you get together? Is it overall part of the library?
People will, staff will have ideas, bring them to a committee, or maybe a committee is formed because of the idea. Like this, we have a committee just for the June 8th fair that's coming up. And we can see if they're doable. Sometimes if they need additional funding that's not in our budget, our foundation has been very generous in supporting these causes.
And you mentioned a little bit before we went to the break that this week, Jerry Turnquist, which is a name that a lot of people are familiar with at the radio station here because he does 100 years in Elgin. He's going to be coming out on Thursday this
Thursday
week?
night, yeah.
And what can people expect on Thursday?
Oh, I can tell you because he swore me to secrecy, but there is going to be a really fun trivia game, and he's testing out your knowledge of Gale Borden Library, a little bit of Elgin history in there. So if you watch, or if you listen to his program here, you might have a step ahead, and it's going to be a really fun time. And of course, he'll be bringing his Jerry style with so much knowledge and background, and he can answer any question you have about Elgin and Gale Borden.
He's a fun, smooth criminal, I always say, because he has such a great knowledge, and he definitely has a defined voice. We've known that here by about that service that we offer on the radio. And then there's other things that you have there too that I wanted to real quickly touch on, because Kevin O'Connor, anybody who may have been here in the last month or so saw that Kevin came and joined us in the studio. He happens to be an Elginite, so I can't think of a better way to focus it, especially during the 150th anniversary when you have an author that's from this area talking a lot about this area. I know we were quite honored even to have him mention WRMN in the book. And so he's going to be coming to the library. I think on the 30th, he's going to be coming out there. And I saw, and I'll mention this one to you, Carol, real quickly. There's other things that people can find out, not only from what we're talking here on Open Book, but also right here.
Right, in our newsletter and then also our website. That is going to be the most up-to-date information. We always like people to galeborden.info, and they will find everything that's in the newsletter, plus more.
And if we want to ask people here, what are the hours of the library, just in case somebody is curious?
The hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 to 9, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 6, and Sunday, 12 to 5.
Good to know. Miss Carol, thank you so much for joining us today. Carol Meadows, CEO, and then again, Miss Nikki, of course, the elementary service manager, K through 5. Didn't need a write-up for that one. After I say it enough,
you got it
it's
now.
there. That's what Memory and the Library does for you, everybody. Well, I want to thank you guys very much for joining us today. And again, we'll be back next week with the Gale Borden Library, brought to you by KCT Credit Union. See you then.
Heroes at 4870 North Harlem Avenue in Harwood Heights, Illinois.